The Fabergé egg shattered. Not cracked, not chipped. Shattered. Imperial gold and diamonds exploding across Natalia Orlova's studio floor like a constellation ripped from the sky. Her heart stopped. 6 months of work. Gone in 3 seconds. Hit that subscribe button right now, or you'll miss the most dangerous love story you've ever heard. Behind her, a voice cut through the Moscow winter silence. Low, cold, lethal. You really thought I wouldn't notice it was fake? Natalia's breath caught in her throat. Her hands froze midair, paintbrush hovering over the canvas. She didn't turn around. Couldn't. Because she recognized that voice from the whispers in Moscow's underworld. The stories her brother told her in terrified gasps before he disappeared 3 weeks ago. Alexei Volkov, the Bratva's most feared debt collector. The man who took everything from people who couldn't pay. Businesses, homes, fingers, lives. And she had just sold him a forged Fabergé egg for 10 million rubles. I can explain. Her voice came out as a whisper, barely audible over the hammering of her pulse. Explain? His footsteps moved closer, slow, deliberate. The sound of expensive leather on old wooden floors, each step a countdown to her end. You forged Imperial Russian treasure, sold it to the Bratva, used my money to pay your brother's gambling debts. Ice flooded her veins. How did he know about Dmitri? I didn't know the buyer was you, she said, still not turning. I swear, I thought. You should have known. His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. Everyone in Moscow knows. If you deal in forgeries, eventually you deal with me. And when you deal with me, you don't get to walk away. Natalia's legs trembled. She'd heard the stories. The banker who couldn't repay his loan, they found him frozen in the Moskva River. The art dealer who sold fake Rembrandts, he disappeared, and his gallery burned to ash 3 days later. Please, she breathed. I'll pay you back. Every ruble. I just need time. Time? Alexei's laugh was soft, cruel. Your brother said the same thing, right before he ran. Her stomach dropped. Where is he? What did you do to Dmitri? What I should do to you? He was right behind her now. She could feel the cold radiating off him like winter itself had taken human form. Her reflection trembled in the dark studio window, small, terrified, trapped. Turn around, Natalia. She turned slowly, her body moving on instinct, on the primal understanding that disobeying this man meant death. Alexei Volkov stood 3 feet away, silhouetted against the snow falling outside. Tall, well over 6 feet. Black wool coat that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. Dark hair, sharp jaw, and eyes the color of a frozen lake in January. Beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. Deadly. He held a piece of paper in his gloved hand. Even from here, she recognized it. The contract. Her signature at the bottom, scrawled in desperate hope. 3 months ago, when Dmitri's debts became hers. This contract, Alexei said quietly, unfolding it with precise, controlled movements, states very clearly that if you cannot repay your debt within 90 days, the collateral becomes property of the Bratva. The egg was the collateral, Natalia said quickly. I gave you the egg. You gave me a fake. His eyes locked on hers, and she felt her soul catch fire under that gaze. A very good fake. One that fooled my appraiser for almost 3 days. Impressive work, actually, but still a fake. Then take everything else. Desperation clawed up her throat. My studio, my equipment, my savings. Already calculated, your total assets come to 400,000 rubles. Your debt, including interest and penalties for fraud, is now 15 million. The number hit her like a physical blow. 15 million. She'd never see that kind of money in 10 lifetimes. I don't have that, she whispered. You know I don't. I do know. Alexei stepped closer and she saw something flicker in those cold eyes. Something dark and hungry that made her breath catch for an entirely different reason. Which brings us to Clause 17, subsection B. He held up the contract, pointing to a section she'd barely read when she signed it, too desperate to save her brother to care about the fine print. When monetary payment is impossible, he read aloud, voice smooth as silk and twice as dangerous, collateral shall default to the signatory themselves. All rights, freedoms, and decisions transferred to the Bratva until such time as the debt is considered satisfied. Natalia's world tilted. What? What does that mean? Alexei folded the contract and slipped it into his coat pocket. It means, Natalia Orlova, that you no longer belong to yourself. No. She stumbled backward, hips slamming into her work table. No, that's not legal, that's… By Bratva law, Alexei interrupted, voice dropping to barely above a whisper. You are now my property, and the Bratva doesn't return what it collects. Her lungs stopped working. Property. The word echoed in her skull like a death sentence. You can't, she gasped. This is Russia, not the Dark Ages. You can't just own a person. Can't I? The question hung in the frozen air between them. Before Natalia could answer, before she could scream or run or do anything, glass exploded behind her. The studio window shattered inward. Snow and broken glass flew everywhere. Natalia screamed, throwing her arms over her face. Gunfire erupted. 3 men crashed through the window, guns raised, shouting in Russian. Not Alexei's men. Different colors. Different Bratva family. There she is! Grab the forger! Natalia's mind went blank with terror. But her body moved on instinct. She dove behind her work table as bullets tore through canvas and wood. Alexei moved faster. One moment he was standing still. The next, his coat flared open and a gun appeared in his hand like magic. He fired twice. 2 bodies dropped before they hit the ground. The third man lunged for Natalia. She screamed. Alexei caught the man's wrist mid-grab, twisted, and the sickening crack of bone echoed through the studio. The gun clattered away. Alexei's hand closed around the man's throat, lifting him off the ground. Who sent you? Alexei's voice was calm, conversational, terrifying. The man choked, gasping. Sokolov. Sokolov family. Wants the forger. Alive? Why? She owes them too. Alexei's hand tightened. The man's eyes rolled back. His body went limp. Alexei dropped him like garbage. Silence crashed down. 3 bodies on the floor. Blood seeping into the gaps between floorboards. The smell of gunpowder mixing with paint thinner and snow. Natalia couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Alexei turned to her, gun still in his hand, not a single hair out of place. How many families did you borrow from? Her voice came out broken. I don't… How many, Natalia? 3. Tears burned her eyes. Maybe 4. I needed the money. Dmitri's debts were… You borrowed from 4 Bratva families. Alexei's jaw tightened. You stupid, brilliant, suicidal girl. He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed her arm and hauled her to her feet. They'll send more, he said, already pulling her toward the door. In 5 minutes, this place will be swarming with Sokolov's men. In 10, the Kozlov family will join. If we're still here in 15, you die. Painfully. Where are we going? Natalia stumbled, legs barely working. Alexei's grip tightened on her wrist. Somewhere they can't reach you. Why? She dug her heels in, forcing him to stop. Why do you care if they kill me? I'm just collateral to you. He turned, and the look in his eyes made her heart stop. You're not just collateral, he said softly, dangerously. You're my collateral. And what's mine stays mine until I say otherwise. He pulled her into the frozen Moscow night. Behind them, more glass shattered. More men shouted. Car engines roared to life. Natalia ran beside Alexei through snow and shadow, her life shattering as completely as the Fabergé egg on her studio floor. She didn't know where they were going. She didn't know if she'd survive the night. But as Alexei's hand tightened around hers, as his body shielded hers from the bullets screaming past their heads, she realized something terrifying. He wasn't just collecting a debt. He was collecting her. If you're hooked already, click on that subscribe button because Natalia's nightmare is just beginning. The black SUV tore through Moscow's streets like a bullet through flesh. Natalia pressed herself against the leather seat, lungs burning, hands shaking so violently she had to clench them into fists. Behind them, headlights multiplied, 3 cars, maybe 4, all chasing. Alexei drove with one hand on the wheel, the other holding his phone to his ear, speaking rapid Russian she could barely follow through her panic. Kill. Secure the east entrance. No, kill anyone who gets within 50 meters. I don't care whose family they're from. A gunshot shattered the rear window. Natalia screamed, throwing herself sideways. Glass rained down like frozen tears. Alexei didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. He ended the call, tossed the phone onto the dashboard, and yanked the wheel hard left. The SUV careened around a corner, tires screaming against ice. Natalia slammed into the door, pain exploding through her shoulder. "Stay down!" Alexei barked. She obeyed, curling into herself, making herself as small as possible. More gunfire. The metallic ping of bullets hitting steel. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it would crack her ribs. Then, silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind of silence that comes after violence, heavy and suffocating. Natalia dared to lift her head. They were on a quiet street now, snow falling softly, no headlights behind them, just elegant buildings with darkened windows, the kind of neighborhood where asking questions got you killed. "Are they gone?" she whispered. "For now." Alexei's voice was cold, controlled. "They'll regroup. Come back smarter. You have maybe 2 hours before every Bratva family in Moscow knows where you are." Her stomach twisted. "Then what do we do?" "We?" He glanced at her, one eyebrow raised. "There is no we, Natalia. You belong to me. I decide what we do. You follow." Anger flared through her fear. "I'm not a dog." "No. You're collateral." He pulled into an underground garage, the SUV descending into darkness lit only by flickering fluorescent lights. "Which means you're worth something, and I protect my investments." The word stung. Investment. Not person. Not woman. Investment. The SUV stopped in front of a steel elevator. Alexei killed the engine and stepped out, moving around to her door. He opened it, waiting. Natalia didn't move. "What if I run?" His eyes locked on hers. "You won't make it 10 meters. "You'd shoot me?" "No." A cold smile ghosted across his lips. "I'd let the Sokolov family catch you. They're creative with their punishments, especially for forgers who make them look foolish." Ice flooded her veins. She remembered the stories. The Sokolov family didn't just kill, they made examples. She stepped out of the SUV. Alexei's hand closed around her elbow, not rough, but firm, possessive. He guided her into the elevator, pressed a code into the keypad. The doors slid shut. They ascended in silence. Natalia watched the numbers climb. 5th floor, 10th, 15th. The elevator didn't stop until 23. When the doors opened, she forgot how to breathe. The penthouse stretched before her like something from a fever dream. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Moscow's glittering skyline. White marble floors so polished they reflected like mirrors. Minimalist furniture that probably cost more than her studio building. And the walls. The walls were covered in art. Real art. Natalia's trained eye recognized them immediately. A Rembrandt sketch, a Monet study, A Kandinsky original. Pieces worth millions, displayed casually like photographs in a college dorm. You collect, she breathed. I collect debts. Alexei shrugged off his coat, revealing a black suit that fit him like a weapon. Art is just a side effect. He moved deeper into the penthouse and she noticed for the first time blood on his shirt cuff. Not his blood. The man from her studio. The one whose neck he'd snapped like kindling. Natalia's stomach turned. You killed 3 men in under a minute. I've killed more in less time. He poured himself vodka from a crystal decanter, drank it in one smooth motion. Didn't offer her any. You should be grateful. Those men weren't coming to negotiate. Grateful? Her voice cracked. You said I'm your property. You dragged me here against my will. Against your will? Alexei turned slowly, eyes narrowing. You signed the contract, Natalia. You took my money. You spent it. Those were your choices. I didn't know what I was signing. Ignorance isn't innocence. He set the glass down with a sharp click. You forged imperial treasure, sold it to 4 different Bratva families, played a game you didn't understand. And now you're paying the price. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. So what happens now? You lock me in a cage? Make me forge paintings for you forever? Something flickered across his face. Not quite amusement. Something darker. Forever is a long time. He moved closer and she forced herself not to back away. Forced herself to stand tall even though every instinct screamed at her to run. Here are the rules, Alexei said quietly. You don't leave this penthouse without my permission. You don't make phone calls. You don't contact anyone from your old life. If you try to run, I will find you. And I won't be gentle when I bring you back. You're insane, she whispered. Maybe. He tilted his head, studying her like she was one of his paintings. But I'm also the only thing standing between you and a very painful death. The Sokolov family wants you. The Kozlov family wants you. Even the Morozov family, who you're very smart not to mention. They want you too. Natalia's blood froze. The Morozov family. She'd borrowed from them last, desperately, stupidly. How do you know about the Morozovs? She asked. I know everything about my investments. His eyes held hers. I know you learned forgery from your grandfather. I know your mother died when you were 12. I know your brother Dmitri has been gambling since he was 16, and you've been cleaning up his messes ever since. Each word was a blade, precise, cutting. I know, Alexei continued, voice dropping lower, that you're brilliant, that you can recreate a Fabergé egg so perfectly even my best appraiser was fooled, that you have a gift most people would kill for. He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell him, expensive cologne, gunpowder, danger. And I know, he finished, that gift is wasted on saving a brother who would sell you to pay his debts without a second thought. The words hit like a punch, because they were true. Deep down, Natalia knew they were true. Dmitri wouldn't, she started. He already did. Alexei pulled a phone from his pocket, swiped, held up the screen. A video. Grainy security footage. Dmitri in a dark room. 3 men around him, one holding a gun to his head. Where's your sister? The man asked. And Dmitri, her brother, her family, the person she'd sacrificed everything for, didn't hesitate. She lives on Tverskaya Street, 3rd floor, studio apartment. She's probably there now. Natalia's world tilted. The video kept playing. Dmitri giving her address, her schedule, where she kept her money, everything. The man with the gun laughed. Good boy. Then lowered the weapon. Go. You're free. And Dmitri ran. Didn't look back. Didn't hesitate. Just ran. Alexei lowered the phone. That was 6 hours ago. The Sokolov family sent men to your apartment immediately, You weren't there. They waited. When you didn't come home, they tracked you to your studio. Natalia's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the pristine white couch, head in her hands, the truth crushing her like Moscow snow on thin ice. Her brother had sold her. Her brother, the person she'd destroyed her life to save, had given her to the wolves without a second thought. Where is he now? Her voice came out hollow. Dead. Alexei said it without emotion. The Sokolovs killed him anyway. Loose ends. Something inside Natalia shattered. Not grief. She couldn't find grief. Just a terrible, howling emptiness. You're lying, she whispered. Alexei pulled up another photo. Dmitri's body in an alley, snow already covering the blood. Natalia turned away, bile rising in her throat. I don't show you this to be cruel, Alexei said quietly. I show you this so you understand. The people you're trying to protect don't exist anymore. Your old life is gone. Your brother is dead. And 4 Bratva families want you bleeding in the snow beside him. He crouched in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. I am offering you one choice, he said. Stay here, under my protection. Alive, or leave. And I give you a 10-minute head start before I call the Sokolovs and tell them where you are. That's not a choice, she said bitterly. No. A cold smile touched his lips. But it's more than anyone else will give you. Silence stretched between them, heavy as iron. Finally, Natalia lifted her head. If I stay, what do you want from me? Alexei stood, adjusting his cufflinks with precise movements. I want you to do what you do best. Forge paintings. Create perfection. He gestured to the walls covered in masterpieces. I have an empire built on debts and fear. But art? Art is the one thing that can't be collected through violence. It requires something else. He walked to the window. Moscow, glittering below like a jewelry box made of lights and lies. You will paint for me, he said. Not forgeries. Real art. Your art. And in exchange, you stay alive. Safe. Protected. Natalia's mind raced. This was insane. All of it. But the alternative? How long? She asked. Until your debt is paid. 15 million rubles? That'll take years. Yes. Alexei turned, and the look in his eyes made her breath catch. It will. The implication hit her like winter wind. Years. He wanted her here for years. And if I refuse? Then you're not as smart as I thought. He moved to a door, opened it. Your room. You'll find clothes, toiletries, everything you need. Get cleaned up. Rest. Tomorrow, we discuss the details of your employment. Natalia stood on shaking legs. I hate you. I know. Alexei's expression didn't change. But you'll stay anyway, because you're a survivor, Natalia. And survivors do what they must. She wanted to argue, to scream, to fight. But he was right. She walked to the bedroom, each step feeling like a betrayal of herself. At the threshold, she stopped. My brother really sold me? Alexei's jaw tightened. He did. And you killed the men who killed him? A pause. I did. Why? His eyes met hers, and for just a moment she saw something beneath the ice, something dangerous and possessive and utterly terrifying. Because, Alexei said softly, no one touches what's mine, even if what's mine doesn't know it yet. He closed the door between them. Natalia stood alone in the luxurious bedroom, surrounded by silk and softness and safety purchased with violence. And for the first time in 6 hours, she let herself cry. Not for her brother, but for the girl she used to be, the one who didn't belong to a monster. Natalia woke to silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind of silence that comes with 23 floors of steel and concrete between you and the world. The kind that makes you wonder if you're in a penthouse or a tomb. She sat up slowly, every muscle aching from yesterday's violence. The bedroom was still dark, Moscow's winter dawn barely lighting the edges of the blackout curtains. For one beautiful, terrible second, she thought maybe it had all been a nightmare. Then she saw the clothes laid out on the chair. Expensive. Her exact size. He'd known. Before he took her. Before the gunfight. Alexei Volkov had already prepared for her arrival. The realization made her skin crawl. She forced herself out of bed, dressed in the clothes he'd chosen. Black pants, cream silk blouse, soft as sin. Everything fit perfectly. Of course it did. He collected things. And he was very, very good at it. When she opened the bedroom door, she found him. Alexei stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, coffee in hand, watching Moscow wake up beneath him. He'd changed into fresh clothes, charcoal suit, no tie, the top button of his white shirt undone. Civilized, controlled. As if he hadn't killed 3 men 12 hours ago. "You slept 4 hours," he said without turning. "That's more than I expected." "I didn't sleep." Natalia's voice came out hoarse. "I passed out from exhaustion." Same result. He gestured to the table where breakfast waited. Pastries, fruit, more coffee. "Eat. You'll need your strength." "For what?" "For work." He finally looked at her, and those cold eyes traced over her body in a way that made her feel naked despite the expensive clothes. "You start today." Natalia's stomach clenched. "Start what, exactly?" Alexei set down his coffee and moved to a door she hadn't noticed last night. He opened it, revealing a room that made her breath catch. A studio. Not like her cramped, cluttered workspace in her old building. This was enormous. North-facing windows flooding the space with perfect light. Professional easels. Every type of paint, brush, canvas she could imagine. Equipment worth hundreds of thousands of rubles. "This is..." She stepped inside, unable to help herself. Her fingers traced over the pristine brushes, the untouched canvases. "This is a masterpiece studio." "It's your studio." Alexei leaned against the doorframe, watching her. "Everything you need. Everything you've ever wanted. It's yours." "Nothing is mine," she said bitterly. "I'm collateral, remember?" "Yes. Which means I have a vested interest in keeping you productive." He moved into the studio, his presence somehow making the vast space feel smaller. "You will paint. Every day. 8 hours minimum." "Paint what?" "Whatever I tell you." He walked to a cabinet, pulled out a folder. "I have clients. Very wealthy clients who collect art the way most people collect debts. They want originals. They want pieces that will appreciate. They want beauty that can't be bought anywhere else." He opened the folder. Inside, photographs of paintings. Styles she recognized. Impressionist, Baroque, contemporary abstract. "You're having me forge again," Natalia said flatly. "No." His jaw tightened. "Forgery is copying. I want you to create. Original works in the style of masters? Yes, but signed with your own name. Natalia Orlova. An unknown artist with extraordinary talent." She stared at him. "You want to make me famous? I want to make you valuable." He moved closer, and she smelled that dangerous combination of cologne and control. A forger can be replaced. An artist with a unique voice? That's worth 15 million rubles. Maybe more. And the debt? Each painting you complete gets valued. That value goes toward your debt. Paint well enough, and you could be free in 2 years instead of 10. 2 years. The number echoed in her skull. 2 years of captivity. 2 years of being his possession. But alive. Safe. Painting. "What if I refuse?" she asked. Alexei's expression didn't change. "Then you sit in this studio for 8 hours a day and do nothing while your debt accumulates interest. At the end of 10 years, you'll owe me 30 million instead of 15. And I still own you." Checkmate. He'd thought of everything. I hate you, Natalia whispered. You've mentioned that. He headed for the door, then paused. Your first commission is due in 3 weeks. A collector in St. Petersburg wants a piece in the style of ruble. Mythological themes. He's paying 2 million rubles. That's not enough time? Then work faster. The door started to close. Oh, and Natalia? She turned. Don't think about destroying the canvases out of spite. I have cameras throughout the studio. If you waste my materials, I add the cost to your debt. Understood? She said nothing. He smiled. Not warm, not cold. Something in between that made her want to scream. The door closed. Natalia stood alone in her beautiful prison, surrounded by everything she'd ever wanted and nothing she'd chosen. Then she picked up a brush. Because survivors did what they must. The first week passed in a haze of paint and silence. Alexei left her alone to work, appearing only at meals. Breakfast and dinner, always perfectly prepared, always eaten in tense quiet. He'd watch her sometimes, those calculating eyes following every movement of her brush, every stroke of color. It was unnerving, invasive, like being studied by a predator who'd already decided you were prey, but was in no hurry to strike. On the 8th day, something changed. Natalia was working on the Vrubel commission, trying to capture that distinctive jewel-toned quality his work was famous for, when she felt him enter the studio. She didn't turn around. You're using the wrong blue, Alexei said from behind her. Her hand paused mid-stroke. Excuse me? Vrubel used cobalt with a hint of manganese violet. What you're using is too warm. He moved closer and she felt the heat of him at her back. There, that tube. Try that. She grabbed the paint he'd indicated, squeezed some onto her palette, mixed it, applied it to the canvas. He was right. The blue transformed, becoming deeper, richer, more authentic. How do you know that? She asked quietly. I told you. I collect art. His voice was close. Too close. I study what I collect, learn its secrets, its weaknesses. I'm not art. Aren't you? His breath stirred the hair at her neck. You create beauty from nothing. You understand color and form in ways most people never will. You're rarer than any painting on my walls. Her hand trembled. Stop. Stop what? Whatever this is. She set down her brush, turned to face him. They were inches apart, close enough to see the flecks of gray in his blue eyes, close enough to feel dangerous. You don't get to do this. You don't get to own me and then act like what, Natalia? Like you want me, she thought but couldn't say. His hand rose slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't, couldn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, wiping away a smudge of cobalt blue she hadn't known was there. You had paint on your face, he said softly. You always do when you're working. You get lost in it. Forget the world exists. How long had he been watching her? How much had he seen? I need space, she managed. I can't work with you hovering. I'm not hovering. I'm observing my investment. I'm not an investment. The words exploded out of her. I'm a person. I have thoughts and feelings and dreams that have nothing to do with your debt collection or your obsession with... He kissed her. Not gently, not asking permission. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head back, his mouth claiming hers with a possession that stole her breath and her sense. For one terrible, perfect moment, Natalia forgot to fight. Forgot to be angry. Forgot everything except the heat of him, the taste of him, the way her body responded before her brain could catch up. Then reality crashed back. She shoved him. Hard. He stepped back, letting her, his expression unreadable. Don't ever do that again, she gasped, hand flying to her lips. Why not? His voice was calm, controlled, infuriating. You kissed me back. I did not. Yes, Natalia, you did. He straightened his shirt, eyes never leaving hers. For exactly 4 seconds, you forgot to hate me. You forgot I'm a monster. You just felt. Shame burned through her, because he was right. For those 4 seconds, she had kissed him back. Get out, she whispered. This is my penthouse. Get out. Something flickered across his face, almost like regret, almost human. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the frame. The Sokolov family tried to breach the building last night. They failed. 3 more men dead. They'll keep trying. And every day they try. Every day I keep you alive. Your debt to me grows. I never asked you to protect me. No. You asked me to own you. That's what the contract says. And what I own, I protect. Whether you want me to or not. He looked back at her. Finish the painting. You have 2 weeks left. The door closed. Natalia stood in the center of her beautiful prison, paint on her hands, his taste still on her lips, and the terrible understanding settling in her chest like ice. He wasn't just collecting her debt. He was collecting her soul, piece by piece, brushstroke by brushstroke. And the most terrifying part? She was starting to let him. That night, she couldn't sleep. She stood at the window, watching Moscow's lights, wondering if anyone down there knew she existed, if anyone cared. Her old life felt like a dream now, distant, unreal. You should be sleeping. She spun. Alexei stood in the doorway of her bedroom, still dressed, eyes shadowed. I could say the same to you, she said. I don't sleep much. He moved into the room, and she should have felt threatened, afraid. Instead, she felt curious. Enemies don't sleep. Neither can I. Is that what you are? Just enemies and fear? What else is there? The question hung between them, heavy with meaning. Natalia turned back to the window. Why did you really kiss me today? Silence. Then his voice, low and honest in a way that terrified her. Because I wanted to. Because I've wanted to since the moment you turned around in your studio covered in paint and fear and defiance. Because you're supposed to be collateral, and somewhere between collecting you and keeping you alive, I forgot how to see you as anything but... He didn't finish. But what? She whispered. More silence. Then he was behind her, close but not touching, his reflection meeting hers in the dark window. Mine, he said finally. Not as property, as something more dangerous than that. Her heart hammered. Dangerous how? Dangerous because I'm starting to think 15 million rubles isn't enough. That 2 years isn't enough. That maybe... He stopped himself, stepped back. Get some sleep, Natalia. You have work tomorrow. He left before she could respond, and Natalia stood alone, watching his reflection disappear, feeling the place where his confession had cracked something open inside her. Something that felt dangerously like hope or surrender. She couldn't tell the difference anymore. The painting was finished in 13 days, not 3 weeks. 13 days of obsessive work, barely sleeping, barely eating, pouring every ounce of rage and confusion and something she refused to name into the canvas. When Natalia stepped back to look at it, her breath caught. It was perfect. Better than perfect. The mythological scene blazed with color and emotion, a firebird rising from ash, wings spread, burning with defiance. Vrubel's style, but something else too. Something hers. Raw. Alive. Something that looked like freedom. It's extraordinary. She hadn't heard Alexei enter. He stood in the doorway, still in his suit from whatever dark business he conducted during the day, eyes locked on the canvas. The collector will pay triple, he continued, moving closer. Maybe more. 6 million rubles? Natalia's voice was hoarse from disuse. That's almost half your debt. Yes. He stopped beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. Paint 2 more like this, and you're free. Free. The word tasted like a lie. What's wrong? Alexei asked, reading her expression with that unnerving accuracy. Nothing. Natalia. She turned to face him. I don't want to paint 2 more. I want to paint 100 more. 1,000. I want to create until my hands forget how to hold anything but a brush. And I hate that you gave me that. I hate that the only place I've ever felt this free is in a cage you built. Something shifted in his eyes. Not quite softness, but close. Then stay, he said quietly. What? After your debt is paid, stay. Paint. I'll provide everything you need, no debt, no contract, just what? Her heart hammered. Just be your kept artist, your pet creative, your... The alarm shrieked. Alexei's entire body went rigid, his hand flew to the gun at his hip. When had he started wearing that openly around her? And his eyes snapped to the security panel on the wall. Red lights flashing, multiple breaches, ground floor, stairwell, service elevator. They're inside, he said, voice dropping to deadly calm. How many? She didn't understand the question until she saw the security feed. 8 men, maybe 10, moving fast, coordinated, professional. Not Sokolov this time. The insignia on their jackets. Morozov family. Her blood turned to ice. The Morozovs were worse. Everyone knew that. They didn't just kill. They made you wish you'd never been born first. Get in the panic room, Alexei ordered, already moving. Where? Through my bedroom. Behind the bookshelf. Code is 0712. Lock yourself in and don't come out until I get you. What if you don't come back? He looked at her, and for the first time since she'd known him, she saw fear. Not for himself. For her. I'll come back, he said. Then softer, almost tender. I always collect what's mine. He was gone before she could respond. Natalia ran. Through the penthouse, into his bedroom. She'd never been in here before. The space Spartan, controlled. Nothing personal except a single photograph on the nightstand. A woman. Dark hair. Kind eyes. His mother, maybe. No time to look. She found the bookshelf, the hidden panel, punched in the code with shaking fingers. The door slid open to reveal a small room. Steel walls. Monitors showing every camera feed in the building. Weapons locked in a case. Medical supplies. Water. This wasn't a panic room. It was a war room. She stepped inside, the door sealing behind her with a hydraulic hiss. On the monitors, she watched Alexei transform. Gone was the collected art enthusiast, the man who knew which blue Vrubel preferred. In his place, a Bratva enforcer, a killer. He moved through the penthouse like death incarnate. The first 2 Morozov men made it off the elevator. Neither made it 5 steps. Alexei's movements were precise, economical, brutal. Gun, knife, bare hands. It didn't matter. He was a weapon that had learned to wear a suit. Natalia's stomach churned watching it. This was the real him. Not the man who brought her breakfast. Not the man who'd kissed her surrounded by paint and desperation. This. More men poured from the stairwell. 6 at once. Too many. Alexei retreated, calculated, leading them away from his bedroom. Away from her. He was protecting her. Even now. Even when it meant putting himself at a disadvantage. One of the men got behind him. Natalia saw it before Alexei did. Behind you! She screamed uselessly at the monitor. The man raised his gun. Alexei spun, but too slow, the angle wrong. The gunshot was deafening even through the steel walls. Alexei staggered. Blood bloomed across his shoulder, but his return shot was perfect. The man dropped. 3 more closed in. Alexei was bleeding, slowing, still fighting, but the numbers were wrong, the odds impossible. Natalia's hands flew to the weapons case. Her fingers found the code pad. She didn't know why she knew it would be the same. Code 0712. It opened. She grabbed a gun, the weight foreign in her hands, terrifying and necessary. Her father had taught her to shoot when she was 16. Clay pigeons, tin cans, nothing living. But she remembered. Stance, breath, squeeze, don't pull. She keyed open the panic room door. The penthouse was chaos. Bodies on the marble floor. Blood smearing the white walls. The smell of gunpowder and death. Alexei fought two men at once. His movements slower now, his shoulder bleeding freely. He was going to lose. For the first time since she'd known him, Alexei Volkov was going to lose. Natalia raised the gun. Her hands shook so badly she could barely aim. One of the men saw her, turned, smiled. There's the forger. He raised his weapon. Natalia pulled the trigger. The recoil shocked through her arms. Her ears rang, but the man fell. Dead. She'd killed him. Actually killed him. Her stomach heaved, but there was no time. The second man lunged for Alexei's blind side. Natalia fired again. Missed. Fired. The third shot hit his leg. He screamed, dropped. Alexei finished him with a brutal efficiency that should have horrified her. Then silence. Terrible, ringing silence. 8 bodies. Maybe 9. Natalia couldn't count through the horror. Alexei turned to her, blood soaking through his suit, shock clear on his face. You left the panic room, he said. You were dying. I gave you an order. I don't take orders from dead men. Her voice shook. The gun trembled in her hands. You were going to die. You were going to die and leave me here alone with your debt and your paintings, and I... She couldn't finish. Couldn't explain why the thought of him dying felt worse than her own death. Alexei crossed the space between them in 3 strides. His hand closed over hers on the gun, gently prying it from her fingers. You saved my life, he said quietly. You've saved mine 4 times. I'm still behind. Something cracked in his expression. The ice melted. What remained underneath was raw, dangerous, human. Natalia, don't. She stepped back. Don't thank me. Don't tell me this changes things. Just get that shoulder looked at before you bleed out on your expensive floor. She turned away, but his hand caught her wrist. It does change things, he said. You could have stayed hidden, stayed safe. Let me die and taken your chances with whoever found you. But you didn't. I'm not a coward. No. You're something far more dangerous. He pulled her closer, his good hand cupping her face, blood smearing across her cheek. You're someone who fights for what's hers, even when what's hers is a monster. Her breath caught. You're not mine. Aren't I? His thumb brushed her lip. You kiss me back. You save my life. You paint beauty in my prison and call it freedom. If I'm not yours, Natalia, then explain what this is. She couldn't. Had no words for the thing burning between them, part hatred, part need, part something that felt dangerously close to belonging. You're bleeding, she whispered instead. I know. But he didn't let go. There's a medical kit in my office. Can you... I'm not asking as your owner. I'm asking as a man who needs help. The distinction mattered. She nodded. In his office, she cleaned the wound with shaking hands. The bullet had gone through. Clean entry, clean exit. She packed it, bandaged it, trying not to think about how intimate this was. His shirt off, her hands on his skin, his eyes watching her with an intensity that had nothing to do with pain. Where did you learn this? He asked. My mother. Before she died. Natalia's throat tightened. She was a nurse. She used to say everyone should know how to save a life, even if they never needed to. She was wise. She was desperate. We were poor. Medical care was difficult. She tied off the bandage. There. You'll live. Thanks to you. His hand caught hers before she could pull away. Natalia, what you did today was necessary, that's all. No, it was brave and foolish, and it broke every rule I gave you. His grip tightened. And it's the first time since I took you that I've seen you choose me. Not because you had to. Because you wanted to. Her heart hammered. I chose not to watch you die. That's different. Is it? She pulled her hand free, stepped back. The Morozov family will send more. Tonight proved you can't keep me safe forever. Watch me. Alexei. No. He stood, moving toward her despite the injury. You want to know why I really took you? Why I didn't just kill you for the forgery and be done with it? She backed up until she hit the wall. Because of the debt. Fuck the debt. The word was harsh, real, human. I could have erased it, could have let you go. But the moment you turned around in that studio, covered in paint and terror and this light that shouldn't exist in someone so broken, I knew. Knew what? He braced a hand on the wall beside her head. Close. Too close. That I'd found something worth more than any debt. More than any painting. Something I couldn't collect because you can't collect a person. You can only what? She breathed. His eyes met hers. Earn them. The words hung between them, impossible and true. You haven't earned me, Natalia whispered. You took me. I know. And I've spent every day since trying to figure out how to fix that. How to make you choose this. Choose. He didn't finish. Choose you. She finished for him. Yes. Her chest ached. That's not how this works. You can't force someone into captivity and then ask them to love their cage. I'm not asking you to love the cage. His voice dropped. I'm asking you to see that maybe we're both trapped. And maybe we're the only ones who can set each other free. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. More Morozov men spotted 3 blocks away. We need to move. Move where? Somewhere safer. He grabbed a bag, started packing with military efficiency. Somewhere they'll never find you. And you? He paused, looked at her. I'm coming with you. Where you go, I go. That's not negotiable anymore. And somehow, that felt less like captivity, and more like choice. The safe house was a lie. Not the location. A fortified mansion 2 hours outside Moscow, buried in snow-covered forest where roads disappeared and questions died. The lie was calling it safe. Because 3 days after they arrived, the Morozov family found them anyway. Natalia saw them first. Black SUVs cutting through white forests like ink bleeding across paper. 6 vehicles, maybe 7. Too many to count. Too many to survive. Alexei. Her voice was steady despite the terror clawing up her throat. They're here. He looked up from the security monitors, face grim. His shoulder was healing but still stiff, still vulnerable. Not enough time. Never enough time. How many? He asked, already moving to the weapons cabinet. All of them. He understood immediately. This wasn't a collection attempt. This was an execution. The Morozov family had come to end this. End them. Alexei handed her a gun. Not asking, not ordering. Just trusting. Can you shoot? He asked. I killed a man for you 3 days ago. She checked the chamber like her father taught her. I think we're past that question. Something fierce flashed in his eyes. Pride, fear. Something else that made her chest ache. The panic room is in the basement, he said. 10 inches of steel. They can't breach it. You get down there, lock yourself in, and wait. No. Natalia. No. She moved to stand beside him, gun steady in her hands. You taught me I'm not collateral anymore, that I'm something worth fighting for. So let me fight. You could die. So could you. She met his eyes. And if you die, what's the point of surviving? The words hung between them, true and terrible. Alexei's jaw worked. Then he pulled her close, kissed her hard. Not possessive, not claiming, but desperate. Like a man trying to memorize the taste of something he might never have again. If this goes wrong, he said against her lips, if they get past me, they won't. But if they do, his hand cupped her face. Run. Don't look back. Don't be brave. Just run, and never stop running. I'm not leaving you. Natalia! The first window shattered. Gunfire erupted like thunder. Glass exploded inward, snow and bullets and chaos pouring through. Alexei moved. Natalia followed. They fought like two parts of one weapon. He'd cover her blind spots. She'd cover his. Moving through the mansion with a synchronicity that should have taken years to develop, but somehow existed anyway. Because somewhere between captivity and choice, they'd learned each other. Understood each other's rhythms, patterns, the spaces between breaths where decisions got made. 6 men fell in the first wave, 8 in the second, but more kept coming. The Morozovs had brought their entire enforcers division. 20 men, maybe 30. An army to kill 2 people. Alexei took a bullet to the leg, staggered, kept fighting. Natalia's gun clicked empty. She grabbed a fallen man's weapon without thinking, kept firing. They retreated to the main hall, backs against each other, surrounded. 15 men left. No way out. No backup. No miracle. Just them. I'm sorry, Alexei said quietly between shots. For taking you. For thinking I could own you. For being too much of a coward to admit what you really were. What was I? Natalia's voice shook. The only thing I've ever wanted that couldn't be collected. More gunfire, his shot, hers. 2 more men down, 13 left. If we die here, she said, I need you to know something. Don't. I choose this. The words came out fierce, certain. Not the debt. Not the captivity. But you. I choose you. And I hate that it took dying to figure that out. Alexei's breath caught. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. Dark and broken and real. We're not dying, he said. Not when I just found out you're insane enough to want me. He pulled something from his jacket. A phone. Hit a single button. What are you doing? Natalia asked, calling in a debt of my own. 30 seconds later, the east wall exploded, not from Morozov's men, from outside. Controlled charges blowing perfectly calculated holes in the mansion's defenses, and through the smoke and chaos came reinforcements. Not Bratva, not Mafia, something else. Alexei's personal guard. The men loyal to him, not to any family. 20 soldiers who owed him debts that couldn't be measured in rubles. The tide turned in seconds. The Morozov men tried to retreat. Failed. One by one they fell, until only one remained. Pavel Morozov himself, head of the family. The man who'd sent armies to claim a forger who owed him 3 million rubles. He stood in the ruined mansion, gun empty, face twisted with rage and something close to respect. You called your ghost unit for a woman, Pavel said, almost amused. Alexei Volkov, the Ice King himself, burning his most valuable asset for... He looked at Natalia. For her? Yes, Alexei said simply. They'll never respect you again. The other families will see this as weakness. You've destroyed everything you built. I know. Pavel's eyes narrowed. Was she worth it? Alexei looked at Natalia. Blood on her face. Paint still under her fingernails from yesterday's work. Defiance in her eyes despite the exhaustion, the terror, the impossibility of still being alive. Yes, he said. She was worth everything. Pavel laughed, bitter and beaten. Then you're a fool. Probably. Alexei raised his gun. But I'm a fool who wins. The shot echoed through the mansion. Pavel fell. Silence crashed down like snow. Natalia's legs gave out. She collapsed, the gun clattering from her hands, adrenaline draining and leaving only the shakes, the tears, the terrible relief of being alive. Alexei was beside her in seconds, pulling her, close despite his injuries, despite the blood, despite everything. "It's over," he murmured into her hair. "It's over. They're all dead. Every family that wanted you. Gone. The debt," she gasped. "There is no debt." He pulled back, forcing her to meet his eyes. "There never was. Not really. I erased it 2 weeks ago. Paid it myself. You've been free since the day you finished that first painting." Her world tilted. "What?" "The contract was void. The debt cleared. I kept you here because—" His voice broke. "Because I couldn't let you go. Because I'm selfish and cruel, and I wanted you more than I've ever wanted anything. You're telling me this now?" Her voice rose, hysterical and furious and something else. "After everything? After I nearly died? After I killed for you? I'm telling you now because you deserve the truth." He cupped her face with bloody hands. "You don't belong to me, Natalia. You never did. But I—" He swallowed hard. "I belong to you. Completely. Terrifyingly. And if you want to walk out that door right now, I won't stop you. I'll give you money, protection, a new identity, anything you need. Just say the word." She stared at him. This brutal, beautiful monster who'd kidnapped her and kept her, and somehow, impossibly, set her free. "And if I stay," she whispered, "then you stay as yourself. Not my collateral. Not my investment. Just Natalia. The artist who paints like she's trying to set the world on fire. The woman who saved my life when she should have let me die. The only person who's ever looked at me and seen something worth choosing." Tears streamed down her face. "You're insane. I know. This isn't how love stories work. I know that too." His thumb brushed away her tears. "But it's ours, and maybe that's enough." Natalia looked at the ruined mansion, the bodies, the blood, the impossible violence that surrounded everything about him. Then she looked at his eyes, really looked, and saw fear there. Real, human fear that she'd leave, that she'd choose freedom over this complicated, dangerous thing between them. "The painting," she said suddenly. "What?" "The Firebird. The one I finished last week." She pulled back, stood on shaking legs. "Where is it?" Confusion crossed his face. "In the studio." "Why?" "Because I need to paint another one." She met his eyes. "I need to paint us, and I can't do that from a distance." Understanding dawned. Then hope. Dangerous, devastating hope. "You're staying," he said. "I'm choosing." She corrected him. "There's a difference." "Tell me the difference." She stepped closer, close enough to feel his breath, to taste the blood and smoke and impossible survival. "Staying means I'm trapped," she said. "Choosing means I want to be here. With you. Despite the violence and the danger and the fact that you're probably going to get me killed one day. I won't—" "Shh." She pressed a finger to his lips. "I'm not finished. I'm choosing you, Alexei Volkov. Not because you collected me, but because somewhere between captivity and freedom, I realized something terrible." "What?" "That I don't want to be free if free means being without you." His arms closed around her, careful of injuries, careful of her, careful in a way she'd never expected from a man who killed without hesitation. "I love you," he said into her hair. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe when you turned around covered in paint. Maybe when you saved my life. Maybe every moment in between. But I love you. And I don't know how to love gently. I only know how to love completely." "Good." She pulled back just enough to kiss him. "Because I don't want gentle. I want real. I want this. I want you. Even knowing what I am, especially knowing what you are. She smiled through her tears. Because I'm just as broken, just as damaged. And maybe that's why this works. We're two shattered people who somehow fit. Outside, snow continued to fall. Moscow waited in the distance. The Bratva world would have questions, consequences, wars over what had happened here today. But inside the ruined mansion, surrounded by death and choice and impossible love, two people who'd found each other in the worst way possible held each other like salvation. So what now? Natalia asked. Alexei smiled, the first real smile she'd ever seen from him. Now, he said, you paint. I'll collect debts, and we'll figure out how to build something beautiful out of all this darkness. Sounds impossible. Good. He kissed her again. I've always been better at impossible things anyway. And somewhere in the distance, Moscow glittered like a promise and a threat. But they didn't look back. They looked at each other and chose to stay. If you made it to the end of Natalia and Alexei's story, a love born from debts and danger, sealed in blood and paint and impossible choice, then you understand what dark romance really means. What was your favorite moment? The shattered Fabergé egg? The first kiss? When she saved his life? When he erased her debt? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this story destroyed you emotionally, smash that like button and share it with someone who loves dangerous love stories with real stakes. Subscribe because I've got more stories about broken people who find each other in the darkest places and refuse to let go.